Okay guys, let's knock out this review. The first one, way back a little bit, says use half angle to find sine 15. Now think about this, what is 15 half of? 15 is half of 30. So I'm gonna go with sine of 30 degrees over 15, over 2. And I'm looking at my sheet right here for half angles. For the sine, it says plus or minus square root 1 minus cosine of x, and x is the angle we changed it to, cosine 30. So let's just work that out. Everybody knows cosine 30 is square root of 3 over 2. That's all over 2. And remember, we cannot leave that 2 on the fraction side of fractions. So I'm multiplying the whole top and whole bottom by 2, which gives me plus or minus 2 minus the 2 cancels there with the 4 on the bottom. Now we know what the square root of 4 is. The square root of 4 is 2. So we're going to go plus or minus 2 minus square root of 3 all over 2. Now, the plus or minus depends on where our original angle was. 15 degrees was our original. That's in quadrant 1. Everything's positive in quadrant 1, so this my answer is positive. Number 2 works the same way. Number 2, we use a half angle to find cosine pi over 8. Now, what is pi over 8 half of? Pi over 8 is half of pi over 4. So I'm going to say cosine pi over 4 divided by 2. And then go from there. So I'm looking at my sheet again. For the cosine half angle, it's plus or minus 1 plus cosine pi over 4 all over 2. Everybody knows the pi over 4 is going to be square root of 2 over 2. I don't know why I put plus or minus in there. Struggling a little bit. It's definitely a plus. All over 2. And again, you can't leave a fraction in a fraction, so we're going to multiply the whole top and the whole bottom by 2. Got plus or minus 2 plus the square root of 2 all over 4. And because I know what the square root of 4 is in my denominator, I need to work that out. That's really 2. So my numerator is stuck. My denominator now is 2. And again, the plus or minus, because it's pi over 8, and pi over 8 is in quadrant 1, everything is positive in quadrant 1, so that's positive there. Hope those two make some sense. Number 3, verify. We've got to verify 3 identities here, which means I need to take this left-hand side and make it look like the right-hand side. The right-hand side says sine squared, so let's just work this out here. First of all, 1 minus secant squared. So I'm looking at my sheet. You can probably hear me turn the page right there. And one thing on my sheet says tangent squared plus 1 is secant squared, which means 1 minus secant squared. If you maneuver that thing around, now here it is, let me just show you. It says tangent squared plus 1 is secant squared. You should be able to find that on your sheet. Now, this thing, that parenthesis says 1 minus secant squared, which means I have to take secant over there, like that, which means I would have to move the tangent over there. So basically, 1 minus secant squared is negative tangent squared. All right, so don't forget what tangent squared is. Tangent squared is still negative. It's sine squared over cosine squared, which means my cosines cancel. Leaves me a negative sine squared, which is exactly where I wanted to go there. All right, let's look at number 4. Number 4, I need to make that left-hand side just say cosine. So let's change everything to sines and cosines. I'm changing secant first. Tangent is really sine over cosine. All right, now, once you change everything, just do the math you see. Like what I see first is I see these two things multiplied together. So if I multiply the two numerators, I get sine squared over cosine x. Now, the cool thing is here, they have the same denominator, right? They both have cosine x. So I'm going to leave that down there. My numerator is 1 minus sine squared, which, by the way, is the very first thing on your identity page. 1 minus sine squared is cosine squared over cosine, and they cancel, which just gives you cosine x. All right, let's keep going. One more of these. Number 5, I've got to make that left-hand side look like secant. So again, let's just change everything. I've got, let's see, tangent plus cotangent. So it's sine over cosine plus cosine over sine all over 1 over sine. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. Hope this is the best way to go. So let's move this up a little bit so I have some room, because it looks like I'm going to need some room. So on my numerator, again, let's do the math. There's a fraction bar, so I'm going to divide in a minute. There's also a plus sign right there. So let's add the numerator. Remember the great way we have to add now. Let's multiply our denominators, like that. And let's cross multiply. That's going to be sine squared plus cosine squared. I love that. It's going to work out really great now once I saw that. Now, there's the addition. This fraction bar means divides. I'm about to keep, change, flip. But when I do that, don't forget what sine squared plus cosine squared is. It's 1. So I'm taking the top, keeping the top, changing it to multiplication, flipping the bottom, keep, change, flip. So what happens here is my sines cancel. Look what happens. Oh my gosh, I get 1 over cosine, which is secant, which is exactly what I wanted. Number 6, did this yesterday. Where's cosine squared of 3 over 2? It's one you should know. You can use your first quadrant if you need it. Where's cosine squared of 3 over 2? At pi over 6. Where's sine negative squared of 3 over 2? At negative pi over 3. Remember, sine, if it's negative, is negative. Where's tangent squared of 3 over 3? At pi over 6, because there's 2 3's there. Number 9, it says use the calculator to find inverse sine in radians. Okay, so first of all, check your mode. Make sure you're in radians. And once you are, just go ahead, inverse sine or second sine, negative 0.3735. Hit enter. I'm getting this right here, negative 0.3828. And there you have it. Number 10, use the product to sum. The first one says cosine x minus cosine 7x. So I'm looking at my papers at the bottom of the back. Sum to product, looking for cosine minus cosine, and it says to do this. It says to do negative 2 times sine of x plus y. Those are your x and y divided by 2. So it would be 8x over 2. And then sine x minus y, which would be negative 6x over 2. So I get negative 2 sine 4x. When I divide that, sine negative 3x. Now I have a negative in my sine. Remember that what happens there is the negative goes in the front. So that negative is going to make that a positive 2 sine 4x sine 3x. The next one has cosine times cosine. So cosine times cosine, I'm looking for product to sum. And I'm following the sheet again. That says 1/2. I'm going to do cosine x plus y. There's my x, there's my y. Or u plus v on the sheet. 2x plus 3x. 2 is 3x. Good night. Plus cosine u minus v. So 2x minus 1x is x. Then I'm just going to distribute that 1/2. Make it cosine 1/2 cosine 3x plus 1/2 cosine x. Got it. Number 12, find the exact value of sine 2x. Cosine, this is review. Go back to the top of your sheet where it says double angle. Now, you can't do this unless you first know what sine x is. If cosine is 3/5, remember that's a 3, 5, 3, 4, 5. So that means sine x is 4/5, and it's positive 4/5 because it's in quadrant 1. So here we go. Sine 2x, just following the sheet here. It says 2 sine x cosine x. Sine x is 4/5, cosine x is 3/5. Just gonna multiply it all together, get 24/25. So there's my sine 2x. Now I'm going to do cosine 2x. Cosine 2x. You have 3 options here. You can do cosine squared minus sine squared. You can see your sheet. You got 3 options. I think the one we did the most was cosine squared minus sine squared. Cosine squared, if I squared 3/5, I get 9/25. Sine x is 4/5. If I squared it, I get 16/25. If you subtract, you get negative 7/25. And then when you get the tangent 2x, remember, we're not going to do the work. We're just going to put the sine 2x over the cosine 2x. The 25's cancel. Get negative 24/7. Guys, that's all I got. 1 through 12. Pretty good. All right. Hope that helps. See you tomorrow. Hope this, like I said, hope it helps. Hope you make 100. You will, I'm sure. Come see me if you need me. See you in the morning.